Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex, a podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. That's usually a whole discography per episode, except for singles episodes like this one where we discuss a brand new album that just came out. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined as always by my remote co-host Alexander Volts. Say hello.
Hello.
And today we will be discussing
A band called Respire and their latest album, Hiraeth, and I apologize if I said that wrong.
I don't know how to say it either. Hiraeth. All I know is that this was sent to us by Monica from Speakeasy PR with like a huge, bold, like, please listen to this because this is great. I know you guys we do get a lot of like promo albums, and we're very grateful for upcoming releases. And this one, she was so fond of it that she had to like say, no, for real though, actually listen to this. So we did. And
Yes, we did.
What did you think, Alex?
Boy, oh boy. I've never heard of this band before. The first track was very interesting. I didn't know what I was going to get into. And this is definitely a band I'm going to keep my eye on.
It's a good ass album. It's a very good album. It's a little dense, but super duper unique. It has a nice little twist to it. It's like the age that we're in is everybody blending every genre ever and throwing the word post in front of it to be like, I don't know what the fuck it is. It's post anything. It's post something.
I do like that this band advertises themselves as post everything. They don't even try. Just post everything.
Because at a certain point, fucking enough with the goddamn trying to label everything. But the thing is, we need labels. We hate labels, but we need them. So somewhere in the past 20 years, post just became the word to use if you don't know what to call it.
Yes.
But this, I would say, is not impossible to classify. This is like it's like black metal, post rock, post hardcore screamo.
Yes, I've never heard a band so heavily influenced by Godspeed and of Montreal. So it's like they're real Canadian about their roots.
Dude, so much Godspeed on here, and we love us some Godspeed. There's probably a Godspeed record behind me, actually. Godspeed is the best, obviously, but I've never thought of it or never expected to hear it blended with screamo and black metal. I mean,
yeah, on paper, it sounds like something where I'd throw my hands up and be like, I don't fucking know. I don't know if I want to buy what you're selling, but after listening to it, I will buy what they're selling.
Will buy indeed. This is not a grower. This is like, you can instantly recognize how good this is off the bat, but I found myself enjoying it more with multiple listens because it is extremely dense. These songs are a bit exhausting, and it does get samey after a while because it's very dreary. It's very emotional. It's very dark, but the songwriting here, God damn.
It is unique. I did find it interesting for me personally how it didn't hit me the same way Liturgy's album last year did, despite having a lot of similarities, but sounding totally different. I think for me, it's a grower. Like, I'm definitely going to revisit it in the coming days and months.
Yeah, because there's a lot of interesting things to that kind of jump out immediately, as opposed to stuff that sinks in with multiple listens. The stuff that comes out immediately is the trumpet and violin aspect of the album. Good.
Yes.
God, I mean, that is the thing to focus. I mean, just plenty of things to focus on, but that's like I would say like the stylistic hook, because man, it's very well done. That's like the main thing. The main reason you're going to be thinking of Godspeed is a lot of the violent kind of stuff, interplaying with clean guitar and a lot of big empty moments of sorrow, where the band kind of drops out. But in between that, we have like the screamo stuff and the black metal stuff, and even then, it's not like I even feel conflicted saying black metal because there are moments where it's like, oh, that's definitely black metal, but it's more of a death heaven black metal. It's more shoegazy and emotional.
For sure. Not for those purists.
Yeah. Well, but, I'm sure the purists don't love anything with the word post in front of it.
Sure. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, are they a 4-piece and they just bring in studio musicians? But it looks like the full band. They got a designated violin, viola player, and trumpets, and they brought on some guests to flesh it out with the glockenspiel, which we talked about.
Oh yeah,
it's coming up in the world, that glockenspiel.
Yeah, how many albums at this point have had glockenspiel just recently?
Too many. I don't know what it is, but it's too many. It's a
lot of glocken, dude. Also some vibraphone, saxophone, kind of additional little layers. The bread and butter is the violin and trumpet for those, along with guitar, bass, drums, whatever. And then lots of vocals, lots of vocalists, lots of different style of screams and shouts and sung stuff.
Yeah, I definitely got some flashbacks. I think the screamo emo part is definitely more like in the vein of a Sunny Day Real Estate or At the Drive-In, and less like the hot topic form, like what the genres became. But man, some of those the way the vocals were being delivered, I got flashbacks. I was like, man, what is this? The early 2000s? They really nailed all this individual sounds they're blending.
Yeah, it's definitely along the lines of Sunny Day Real Estate type of screamo emo thing, whatever. I mean, that was kind of before Sunny Day Real Estate. Wait, what was the other band that I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Gospel. That's what I'm thinking of.
I was going to bring that up. Shout out to our Patreon members, if you want to hear us talk about a obscure, technically screamo band. Didn't sound screamo to my ears, so I don't know what these words mean anymore. I give up.
They heavily influence screamo, but we don't hear it as screamo because it's good. It's very good. It's very good. But it did remind me of Gospel in the sense that I can recognize it as having elements that would share with these other, these screamo type bands. But it's again, it's just one of the many billion post genres they're throwing on this album. So the opener, Keening, I think it does set the stage pretty well for what we get for the whole album.
I kind of felt like it was a little misleading, but I think for the theme of the album, the concept of the album, this is the most jaunty pirate music at first, and I was like, yeah. Oh, is this some wacky Igor type band?
Yeah, Igor.
So the choice for the drum sounds on the production was also so interesting for me. And then they brought in the Godspeed elements, and I was just like, man, what am I listening to? And yeah, throughout the album, in the lyrics, heavy aquatic ocean themes in the lyrics, which apparently this is a concept album where one of the themes is immigration, among other things. So lots of visuals going on there.
Yeah, that you're saying jaunty like a pirate kind of thing. That's because that's the only song.
That's the only song that's jaunty.
Well, because the it's one of the only moments in the album where the violins are more like fiddles. So I thought we were getting a fiddle violin throughout the all right, they're gonna have a little Irish twist to it, but it's really just that song.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it just tends to be a little bit more dark and emotional, but
because then the second track starts off more like a straightforward black metal song, but then they tap into the Godspeed elements for breakdowns. You get that levity. I really like to, on a band like Death Heaven, where it's the high speed intense stuff is always black metal, but this band will tap into like those alternative or screamo roots, and there's a part where they keep the energy going, and it's just a very simple like driving beat on the drum. It doesn't always have to be this like screaming blast beat stuff to keep the energy going. So I thought that was a very like cool choice where it's like, hey, we don't always have to tap into the black metal for the high energy stuff.
Yeah, it's actually, I would say it's relatively small amount of like full on black metal blasting kind of stuff on the whole album. Because the when it goes fast, there's a lot of range within how fast. And when it gets big and loud, there's a lot of range within how big and loud. Second track, The Match Consumed, is a nice little light, loud, quiet, loud one too. Because I mean, there's so many different layers of shrieks. There's so many different vocalists doing it there. It's a really cool quality. But it also ends with that with this big breakdown section. It's just very nice stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of displays of vocal prowess and variety, Distant Light of Belonging, you really like, that's when you fully, like, if this is your first time listening to the band, like fully get those like the emo screamo early 2000s alternative. I don't know what the equivalent of gang vocals is in that genre, but I'm just gonna call them that. I know it's not actual gang vocals, but
close enough.
Yeah, where it sounds like the whole band is like chanting and singing together.
Yeah, that was the one where I started getting really reminded of Death Heaven, except the breakdowns aren't, like you said, it's not black metal. Like that that's straight up screamo, you know.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it has like it has a similarity, but it's still its own thing, of course. But really nice thing. Really nice song, really well written. And then, which I think is a very nice pacing choice, you get a very nice, calm, insanely dramatic intro to First Snow.
Yes, and it kind of, the whole album appropriately kind of seamlessly, one song goes into another. Which I think is a nice touch if you're trying to have this flowing water theme throughout. And yeah, man, I know there's like the swelling horns are kind of like a trademark of these bands that have horn sections, but particularly on that song, it's a really cool touch.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like the prettiest thing on the album at that point. It gets very, when the drums come in, it gets kind of snappy, a little bit post-hardcore sounding, but still with the Godspeed as fuck violins. But it's great. It's wonderful. I mean, fuck, man. These songs are really pretty. Like, they're really well-written progressions and all that.
Yeah, something else cool and unique the band does is, like, on Home of Ash, where maybe like a liturgy or Death Heaven is using these elements more for like flourishes or padding. Like, I think a song like Home and Ash, the star of the song are the strings and the horns.
Yeah, because around 2 minutes in, it has that breakdown that comes in, but the way it builds up from that section is very nice. It does steal the show. All those violins, all that Godspeediness.
Yeah, it's really cool to be like, oh, I'm gonna put on this song because I want to hear these other instruments that aren't the guitars or the drums.
Yeah, I was surprised at how well trumpet fits in with this whole thing.
It's kind of jarring, and I feel like we have the musical background where we could dissect it in our brains properly and quickly. It's probably not for everyone, but that's like 90% of the music we do on this podcast now.
Yeah.
So it's probably jarring for a lot of folks, but I think our regular listeners, more adventurous listeners, will definitely get a kick out of this unexpected genre blending.
Yeah, as a whole, I think this is not going to appeal to everyone. I mean, and even fans of more intense music, it's the screamo element is a tough sell. Like I would have been like a little resistant maybe some years back, before hearing bands like Sunny Day Real Estate and all that. But
my whole thing with like bad screamo emo bands has always been the whiny vocals. Like it's just an immediate like non-starter for me. It's a deal breaker. So like I like a band like this or Gospel or At the Drive-In or Sunny Day where it's like they have those sounds but their vocals are not so reliant like yeah.
Yeah, the whininess is usually a deal breaker. I have like guilty pleasure exceptions for some bands, but the sung vocals on this album, so they're not like whiny. They're not weirdly pronouncing things like they have a Philly accent, like Blink-182 or something. They're dork guy vocals. I don't even know what you'd call them. How would you describe? Because I have it in my mind like what I like it fits into a certain category, but I can't put it into words.
Yeah, I don't really have the best descriptors for it because I do feel like it's kind of out of my element, but I kind of feel like there were I know you've only heard the One Trail of Dead album, and sadly their last album, and who knows, maybe we'll get around, but the way some of their vocals were like, that's like, that's what's the word? That's like peak Trail of Dead stuff for me.
Okay. Well, at least you have a frame of reference. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I'm sure the band they cite Godspeed as I'm sure they appreciate the less Godspeed references.
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course. So moving on, the intro to Voiceless Nameless, they cranked up the whimsy and the fantasy. I mean, it feels like I'm in the Shire.
Yeah, it's again another one that starts off at 11 with the black metal, but the like.
Wait, that one? Oh, and I'm talking about Voiceless Nameless. That one starts out super with the field recordings, and it's all pretty.
Oh, maybe I'm talking about after that, like after the field recordings.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and even when they're doing that, like the zany instruments, the orchestral parts, are there. But yeah, it's just it's really cool to have these multiple genres instead of like, you're wearing the Zeal and Ardor shirt. I love Zeal and Ardor. Got tickets.
Oh yeah,
show coming up. But yeah, it is a bit exhausting. Like, you got the blue. I hope he does stuff. I mean, even on his first stuff, like he was messing with electronics.
Yeah, the first album was great.
But it does get a bit tiresome if it's just like, oh fuck, we got black metal and we got blues.
Mm-hmm.
And on your like fourth, fifth album, where do you go from there? Do you keep doing it?
Yeah.
And here it's like, oh, we can dip into all these different things.
That's the thing with like, when you look at it as Zeal and Ardor and you look at Death Heaven, where you get this super simple formula of we're doing this genre and this genre. No one's ever done that before. We're mixing them together, and you get like, okay, well then what next? You get a band like Death Heaven that actually wiggles it around and does like surprisingly more stuff. And then Zeal and Ardor, which kind of leaned more toward like the bluesy stuff, even though it's still heavy, which I personally didn't like quite as much. Mm-hmm. And then, so you can kind of go either way. There's not, like I said, not nearly as much wiggle room. Here, it's just whatever style of harsh you want to go in, I guess.
Yeah, plenty of different colors and notes to play around with.
Yeah, Voiceless Nameless is definitely one of my favorite songs on the album. It has got some summer pianos in the final chunk. Mm-hmm. It has like actual hopeful moments, which is pretty rare for the album. It's still devastating, but it's I'll just say a touch more hopeful than most of the songs on this album.
Yeah, and especially because I think the the next part, like the orchestral stuff is there with it's competing with the more traditional metal elements, but on the Sunsets Without Us, like it really gets a chance. And oftentimes I feel like they use it to be some levity, but on there, the orchestral stuff gets a chance to be a little more darker and more somber compared to the other ones where it's like these bright elements. But also some of the cleanest vocals on the album there. I like the bleak, it won't get better before it gets worse. Tomorrow always felt like home. I like the way when they bring that in, it builds and it builds back up. It's a very, very cool section.
That vocal line ends up stuck in my head for a good hour after the album ends every time.
They said, I heard it a few times and I had to pause to digest it.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy and emotionally heavy and beautiful. It's a beautiful vocal line.
Yeah, it's the band in a nutshell.
Yeah, and with that same song, on that one, on a lot of the album, I can kind of like put it in my mind a little bit as this, but on that song, it really jumped out at me. It's really like if you blend Godspeed with Deaf Heaven with Black Country New Road. That's what that fucking song is. I mean, that's what a lot of this album is.
For sure.
Maybe not the screamo elements so much, but like the choice of instruments and then the presentation. Boy, does it remind me of all three of those bands, and I love all three of those bands.
For sure. We Grow Like Trees in Borrowed Light.
Our Rooms of Borrowed Light, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't exactly make out the sampled quote going on in the beginning of there, but
oh yeah.
Again, where it's just nice to have these different flavors to play around with. I feel like it's more of a chaotic, like emo influence section than black metal on that one. Mm-hmm. That one is a little more crunchy and punishing in heavier ways than the like onslaught of that is black metal. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, there's some big spacious breakdowns on there that feel very majestic, like they're prepping for war or something like that. The first, and especially the first heavy section that comes in, rules so fucking hard. I dig it quite a bit, but that's not surprising at this point. I mean that if you're not going to be beaten down, because this is a pretty depressing album, if you're not going to be beaten down by it, it's great the whole way through.
Man, yeah. We stacked this with I don't know what order these things are in, but we stacked this with another band, and I was like, 4 albums. I got this. This was a crushing week. This was a brutal week. We had 4 albums total to cover, and they beat the fuck out of us. Hell yeah, they did. So this, I really had to zone in and give this my full attention, because it would have been easy to check out with our schedule.
But still, man, this writing here is so fucking well done. It's such beautiful progressions. So at this point, second to last track, Do the Birds Still Sing?
Oh man,
you know how it sounds. Like if you heard the rest of the album, you already know what you're getting into. But it's much shorter. It's more of a burst of energy than any of the other songs. Because before that, we get a good amount of lengthy songs in a row.
I think that's my favorite song on the album, honestly. Like, it's a little bit slower, and then the violin started. I'm like, this is so fucking. This part is so cool, and I thought it was going to be fleeting, but it sticks around for a while, and the violin on that song in particular is the absolute star of the show. And then, it kind of picks up and has like some punk energy to it.
Yeah. It's very cool. The closer is sort of a lengthy outro.
Probably the saddest song on the album.
Oh yeah. It's an acoustic track, very violin and trumpet heavy, but it also has the loudest and most tangible sung vocals on the album.
Oh, for sure.
They're quite buried everywhere else. Here, it's like a song, and it's really pretty. It's heart-wrenching, like many of the other songs. It's so dramatic to the point of almost eye rolling for me, because it's so dramatic, but it's very lovely.
I needed it. I feel like the rest of the album, I've been in riptides, I've dealt with tsunamis, this waves coming down on me. I've been able to come up for air a few times. This song is you can breathe, you can cry. Yeah. It's over. It's okay. It got worse. It got worse. Not the music, but you know.
Yeah. The pain of whatever the hell there is they're talking about.
Yeah. You really worked through it the whole album. Now you can let it go.
So like, what makes me love this one is because there's I would say disappointingly little variety in mood and feel on the whole album, but there is an astounding variety in just sonic textures. So the way they put, because it's all sort of like a hodgepodge of mixing all these genres. Every song kind of has its own little stew, but they're all little unique stews. If I'm going to continue that weird analogy, they all sort of feel the same, but they all tackle different types of intensities. So it still has variety, even if it's not like the most obvious on the surface variety.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It can be unrelenting and punishing, but for those who are extreme music fans, there's no shortage of variety and things to discover on this album. You could almost, I would say, at being cliche and corny, it's almost as deep as the actual ocean.
Ooh, and we got to end it with that one, baby.
I'm gonna get quoted on one of these albums one day. One day, it's gonna happen.
Hell yeah! But yeah, I'd say it's a pretty good surprise. One of the stronger albums I've heard this year. I mean, we've covered a lot of good albums this year, and it's a style that I normally wouldn't have sought out, but the writing is just so fucking strong, and I'm also very tickled by the novelty of trumpet and violin being the star of the show for an extreme band.
For sure. And it's like I said earlier, it's not just something that's there. It is like ingrained in the band's DNA, and a couple songs, they're the stars of the song. So it's very cool to even like lean into it in a way I don't think people would have expected. It's just like, oh, cool, we got the swelling orchestra stuff, we can leave it at that. Where this band's like, no, we're gonna like focus in on it.
Yeah, it is a part of the band. It is. If you remove those elements, these songs would not be the same. It would be hurt for it, I would say.
Yes, totally different band at that point. It would be like taking the guy who plays the beer can out of Slipknot. At this one, it wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't be. Why even see the band? Why even listen to the goddamn band?
If they're not going to have the beer keg hit with the baseball bat, I don't want to see Slipknot. I just get out of here.
I bet it looks cool. I bet it looks fun.
I bet it's great. It looks cool.
One of the better parts of the show.
It looks cool as fuck. They got two guys on drums that are like elevating and spinning around, and
absolute showman, total showman.
And I want that for Respire. I want the trumpet players on moving platforms.
But yeah, check out the album. It's I mean, at the time of recording, it's not out yet, but it'll be released by the time this episode comes out. So go check it out. But thanks to Monica from Speakeasy who sent us an advance copy, and shine a little light our way, even though if the light is particularly depressing and punishing, like this album. But we enjoy stuff like that.
We're the two guys equipped to deal with it.
I would say so. Oh, hell yeah. So thank you so much for listening and watching. If you want to hang out further, you know what to do. click the fucking thumbs in the comments, and it's cool. And
Thumbs.
subscribe.
Thumbs up, subscribe.
You know what to fucking do. All right. You just help us out. God damn, just help us out.
Give us money.
Yeah, that money too. You can follow me on all social media at Pounder Monkey and Alex on Instagram at
Every album Alex.
And please follow our history guy, Tom Osman, on at Tom Osman Sounds on all social media, as well as TomOsmanSounds.com for his music. He does a bunch of work for us, gets albums for us, gets interviews with us, yada, yada, yada. Very cool stuff. Check out my EP. Do that if you want. And last but not least, Patreon, baby. Patreon.com/everyalbumever. That's where you go. You get 2 bonus episodes a month. You get to see our schedules in advance. You get to vote on polls to decide who we cover next. You get to join our Discord, be a part of the community. You could suggest EA singles episodes like this one. So, if there's a new album that we haven't talked about that's come out and you want to talk about, throw it on there. If you're tier 2, not only can you suggest any album for bonus episodes, you can also suggest a full-ass episode for us to cover on our bigger, longer numbered episodes. So go there, do that. Thank you.
Yes, and that bonus episode is where we talked about this band Gospel. If you want, and even if you don't want to give us money, I'm going to encourage you to check out Gospel as well.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's really good. That first album. I mean, oh boy. But time to wrap it. What are we gonna wrap it with?
Oh man, I know what my favorite song is, but I think you're right in saying "Voiceless Nameless" is a great representation of the album.
Hell yeah!
I think that's a smarter pick.
Right on. So let's do Voiceless Nameless. Thank you so much for listening and watching. See ya.